Why diet culture is extra, extra, extra bad for people with ADHD, part 2. The wellness world is constantly pushing the message that the only healthy food is food that is made from scratch. Anything else is going to destroy your health, and it's evidence that you are lazy, that you've let yourself go, and that you just don't care enough about yourself. Because if you cared more about yourself, you would reprioritize your life and get your shit together. Diet culture wants to put foods in black and white terms like this, and they want to really elevate the bar of what can be considered healthy, because at the end of the day, diet culture demands that people always feel like they're doing something wrong and they could always do something better, because being in that situation makes them very vulnerable to marketing. And everybody is vulnerable to this, not just people who are neurodivergent, but it is extra harmful for people with ADHD, because this is what happens when people with ADHD try to keep up with that demand. They aim for perfection because they're terrified of failure, because they've been told their whole life that they just can't do things correctly. And then they very quickly become completely overwhelmed, because performing this from scratch living requires a lot of decisions, it requires a lot of planning, it requires lots of steps. And so in the face of that high demand and everything else that they need to do in their life, they become task avoidant, they completely shut down, and then they end up not eating until they're starving, which ends up resulting in a binge on fast, easy, and hyper-palatable foods. But then they feel terrible about it because, if they cared more, they would have done it better. The consistent vilification of convenience foods prevents people who can't keep up with the demand that healthy eating requires from actually engaging in healthful habits or making any sort of positive change in their life that would be beneficial. Because if they think that what they have to do in order to be healthy is this laundry list of tasks that they're never going to be able to keep up with, well, they're going to give up before they even start trying, as opposed to focusing on easy, sustainable, and accessible options. But when those options are being presented as detrimental to their health, well, it's just never going to be good enough to do that. And so diet culture really robs people with ADHD from actually taking care of their body. It is toxic. So don't be afraid of relying on convenience options. Don't be afraid of your plan A not being perfection, because in reality, that is actually going to have a much more powerful and substantial impact on your health if you do that day after day than performing perfectly to diet culture standards for one day of the week, than being completely shut down and in recovery mode for every other day that week.